Okay, good evening, everyone. We continue. Again, we're in the middle of the first chapter, explaining man's duty in this world. We're discussing what is exactly the obligation of a person in this world that he focuses all his energies on. And Luzzatto began by saying that the purpose of man, he was only created to take pleasure in Hashem, that his soul will experience the spiritual connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the means to that are the mitzvahs, which you're meant to accomplish in this world. And the greatest good that Hashem can give us is this connection to Hashem, as David HaMelech told us. And we ended off last week by discussing that Hashem puts man in a place where there's this world, there's many things that distance us from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's many lusts and physical pleasures that if we follow after them, we will be directed away from the good that's there. And we ended off by discussing how man is involved in a milchama chazaka. He's in a very strong battle. And we're just going to review that last line over there, where we say, Ki kol inyane ha'olam, all the aspects of this world, everything that man will encounter in this world, bein letov, bein lemutav, whether these things appear to be good or appear to be bad, hinehem nisyonos la'adam. These are tests for a person. And now he elaborates on the different types of tests. In other words, whichever way you go, that's where the tests are. He'ani mitzad echad, poverty on the one side, ve'ha'osher mitzad echad, and wealth on the other side. In other words, if a person's wealthy, he has to deal with the challenge of arrogance and thinking that he is like God sometimes if he gets carried away. That's a great test, being wealthy, and there's lots of physical pleasures to go after. Poverty on the other side, we shouldn't know about those things either. And you could be tempted to steal or even swear falsely because of poverty and what things can make you do. The Inyan She'amar Shlomo, as Shlomo Melech said in Mishlei, pen espa, lest I become very full and satiated, v'chichashti, and I deny Hashem, v'amarti mi Hashem, and I say, who is Hashem? Upeni varesho, lest I become poor, v'ganafti, and I steal. So that's two kinds of tests. So you can be rich, be poor, that's a test. Hashalva, tranquility, you have everything you need, that's a test. It could breed laziness. It could be breeds, if everything is going right, then you don't really have to trust in Hashem. You have other things to trust on. So that's mitzad echad on one hand, by yisurim and suffering on the other hand. Mitzad echad on the other hand, which could lead to depression, could lead to a person to not have emunah in Hashem anymore, and also can generate laziness. So he sums it up and says, until he finds that the battle he is in front of him and behind him, meaning to say there are things that are obvious, things that are in front of you that are challenging you, things that you clearly see are challenges, and from the back, things that are not so obvious. And they may even be greater challenges. You don't even realize that those things are challenging you. Or you could say there are challenges, but panim v'achor, before you do a sin, in front of you, the Yetzer Hara is trying to trick you. And v'achor, even after you have, let's say, succeeded in not falling into the Yetzer Hara's trap, he still isn't letting you go. So wherever you turn, it's like an ambush on all sides. Wherever you go, there's a test. So he says, V'imyil ben chayil, and if you become a ben chayil, a real warrior, and you're victorious, v'yinatzeach ha'melchama, mikol atzam, you win the battle from all sides, hu yiyeh ha'adam ha'sholem, he becomes that complete person, that perfect person who he mentioned earlier, a couple paragraphs earlier, that he says, to get that shleimus ha'amiti, that man is driven to reach that ultimate perfection, to achieve that perfection. So when he reaches that level, to be the Adam Shalom. And when you become a Shalom, what's the next step? Asher yiskar ledavek b'varo, he will merit to cleave to his creator. V'yetze min haprostar hazeh, he will leave this antechamber, v'yikanes b'traklin le'or bar chaim, and he will enter the palace to bask in the divine light of Hashem. And now he says a very interesting thing. He says this idea of dveikus is not an all or nothing concept. Who says, Ukefi ashir asher kovash es yisro, to the degree that he is able to vanquish his yetzer, the tavosov and his lusts, v'nisrachek min marchikim, and he distances himself from those that want to separate him from Hashem, also, that want to distance from Michoso mehatov, v'nishtadeh lidavik bo, and he makes efforts to cling to Hashem to that degree that he wins and defeats the Yetzirah, kein yasigeo v'yismach bo. To that extent, he will attain that dveikus and will rejoice in it. It's interesting where he's saying 2 points. He said, the degree that you can conquer the Yetzer Hara and those taivas, you defeat them, that is, so to speak, in your hands. But then he says, v'nishtadel, and you make an effort to cling to Hashem. That you can never guarantee success, because that at the end of the day, it's Hashem who will bless you to have you be cling to him. But that you can make efforts. The Yetzer Hara, you can make efforts and you can win. You can really defeat the Yetzer Hara. But to guarantee that you're going to be davuk to Hashem, that already, at the end of the day, it's a relationship aspect with Hashem, and you have to be blessed that Hashem makes that happen for you. So these are the great tests that we have in life. The Gemara says at the end of the world, when it comes to the quote-unquote judgment day, and the nations of the world are going to dispute the right that the Jewish people have to the rewards that Hashem is going to give. And the non-Jews are going to argue that the Jewish people did not really observe the Torah. Then Hashem will call non-Jews to be witnesses to this. Hashem will call Nimrod, the king from Ur Kasdim, who threw Avram into the fiery furnace when Avram went against idolatry. And he'll tell Nimrod to testify that Avram was able to withstand the test of his loyalty to God. Then he'll call Lavan to testify how Yaakov served Hashem faithfully, even though Lavan kept cheating him all the time. He'll call the wife of Potiphar to testify how Yosef resisted her seductions. So what's the point of that Gemara? So Rabbi Yerucham Levovitz points out that the message in the Talmud is that these very people that are testifying, these are really evil people. And what's going to happen, Lossi Lovo, is that the evil itself is going to testify how it was overcome by the tzaddikim. And the Sifrei Chasidus explained this principle, that remember, nothing can exist in this world without the will of Hashem. Nothing at all. If there isn't that nucleus of divine energy, nothing is able to exist. Even things that manifest as evil, they still have Hashem's energy is allowing them to exist. Now, why they exist is for the very purpose for the righteous to triumph over the evil. So what happens when the tzaddikim defeat the Yetzer Hara and are victorious in battle, as Lutzado is describing, what happens is that evil, which has the spark of holiness in a misdirected way, when the Jew overcomes it, they, so to speak, through their actions, they kind of remove the divine energy out of the evil, and it sends it back to where it belongs. And that's part of what all the tests are about in life. When man is successfully able to overcome those nisyonos in life that he's challenged with, that's the means to eradicate the evil that exists in this world and channel it onto the side of good. So even the evil, even whatever manifested in an evil way, now gets brought back into Hashem's universe as well, and you get credit for that. Now, obviously, it's natural for a person who likes to take it easy. Everybody likes tranquility, and just as natural as eating and drinking, we all would like life to be easy. But Lutzado is saying, as desirable as it may be to our bodies, but tranquility accomplishes nothing. And struggling and tests is the only constructive aspect of life. And that's the famous Rashi in Parshas Vayeshev. After Yaakov went through so many struggles, dealing with Esav, dealing with Lavan, dealing with Shem and Dinah, dealing with all the difficult people he had to deal with in life. And then finally it says, Vayeshev Yaakov. Yaakov wanted to live in tranquility. And Hashem said, as it were, listen, the tranquility for the tzaddikim is in the next world. You want to have tranquility in this world? So immediately had the challenges with Yosef and the brothers and everything that happened from that. So the obvious question is, could we suspect that Yaakov would be guilty of utilizing tranquility in the wrong way? Was he looking to have tranquility? He could watch sporting events or something like this. The Torah says that Yaakov was a perfect person. He spent his time studying Torah. He's studying Torah, the yeshiva of Shem. We said for 14 years he didn't even sleep a night when he was studying the yeshiva after he ran away. So clearly if Yaakov would have been freed of distractions, he would have devoted his whole time to spirituality. What's wrong with that? And the answer is, as it says in Eov, Adam la'amo yulad, man was created to toil and to struggle. And for Yaakov, studying Torah would be, quote unquote, too easy for him. For him, even though he's using it wisely, but he's not being challenged, there's going to be no growth for Yaakov. And Yaakov now thought, okay, now I can go on cruise control. I've served king and country for like 100 years. So let me cruise it out. I'll just learn Torah in calm and tranquility. And Hashem is saying, no, there is no such thing for the tzaddik. The person, you're meant to grow till the last day you're in this world. And therefore he would have to grow now with new challenges of being an Eved Hashem when your favorite child looks like he died. And to live with that for 22 years. And then to live with Egypt for 17 years. And to grow. Okay, when a person is in a state of tranquility, they achieve nothing. Luzzatto is saying the purpose of being on planet Earth is to withstand the trials. And we have to realize, as pleasant and desirable as we think tranquility is, it is not the goal, it is not the purpose. As many great Rosh Yeshivas say, schlafen, you want to sleep in Jennerwelt in the next world. In the next world, there'll be plenty of time for peace and tranquility, or yesterday, as we discussed, in the times of Mashiach, there could be a certain degree of peace and tranquility. But while we're on planet Earth and we're meant to earn our keep, as it were, as he will continue to discuss, it has to be full of challenges, because those challenges that enable us to have free will choice and enable us to develop our personalities in a greater way, become more divine, that only comes with challenge. So notwithstanding the fact that we see in the entire world that everybody's looking forward to just relaxation on a constant basis, Judaism does not believe in that. Doesn't mean to say you can't relax at all for a little bit of time. You can go to sleep every night. We're talking about long, extended times of no challenges in life. That's not what it's about. Okay, so up to this point, Luzzatto has been telling what man has to know what his obligation in the world is, to understand the purpose of the human being was created for the pleasure it makes to Hashem. Now we have to take another aspect of man's obligation, and if we understand that the world was created for man to achieve this great spiritual state in order to be dovek and to cling to Hashem, so the focus now is, so what about everything else in the world? For what else was the rest of the world created? What purpose does it have? And to that, Luzzatto continues back inside. The Tamid Od Ba'inyan, Tamik, if we look a little deeper into this topic, Tira will see, Ki ha'olam nivra l'shimush adam, that the world was created to serve man. However, amnam hinehu omed b'shikol gadol, but the man is in the center of a great balance. He's the balancing scale of the world. He explains, if man will follow the world's pleasures and goes after earthly pursuits alone and distances himself from the Creator, listen to these words. Hinehu miskalkel, he himself will damage himself, umekalkel ha'olam imo, and will damage the world with him. V'hu sholet ba'atzmo, and if he is able to take control over himself and control his physical desires, v'nidbak b'bara, and cleave to his Creator, in this world, you see, he's hinting to the fact by saying that you can cling even in this world, although the goal is in the next world to have ultimate clinging, but you can make certain efforts to cling in this world. And he makes use of this world. And he only uses this world as a tool to assist him in his service of God. Then humisala, he is elevated. And the world itself is elevated with him as well. It's a great elevation for the entire creation. For the entire universe. It is all considered elevated when? When they serve the complete man that is sanctified with God's holiness. The world is reaching its goal. And this really is the Jewish definition of tikkun ha'olam. This is the real definition. It's not just in general do something nice for the world. What Luzzatto is saying is that the entire universe takes on meaning when the universe is used to enable man to achieve the ultimate goal of creation. Now the world has a purpose, and the universe can only be as meaningful as man is. If the human being fails to pursue this goal, and the human being does not have a meaningful life, then the entire universe has no purpose. So really, it's not only about man. It's about everything that Hashem created, and the purpose for everything in this world, as it is the stage for man to go through the challenges of life and earn that reward of that closeness to Hashem. The whole world will either be something that enables man to do this, and therefore the world accomplishes what it was meant to accomplish. The world gets elevated. And if not, the world can be destroyed as man destroys himself. Now, I know that's a difficult concept to understand. Our limited intelligence may not be able to understand the function of many things and how all these things in the world can serve man. How is it that a tiny insect in the tropical rainforest can be service of man? How do we understand that stars that are billions of light years away, how do they contribute to man's functioning? It's hard for us to understand this. Yet the Medrash says that David HaMelech, when he was a young man, there are a number of things he didn't know. He noticed there were things such as spiders, and he was thinking, I have no idea what the spiders do that's useful in this world. He saw hornets. He didn't understand what purpose they served. And he also saw people who were deranged, mentally incompetent, and he didn't understand what purpose they served either. And it would take experiences in life for him to understand the purposes that they serve. Just very briefly, in many of David's most difficult times, it's the very things that David HaMelech did not understand what their purpose was, are the very things that saved him. When he was hiding in a cave from King Shul, who wanted to kill him, and King Shul sent his soldiers, and they're looking from cave to cave. And in the very cave that David HaMelech was in, a few moments before, maybe an hour before, a bunch of spiders came along, and they spun a spider's web right at the entrance. And when the soldiers came by to look into the cave that David was in, they said, well, he can't be in this cave because in this cave there wouldn't be a spider web over here. So all of a sudden, David HaMelech understood what the spider webs were for. There was another time when David HaMelech was penetrating Shul's camp when they were all sleeping. And he entered it, and when he wanted to leave, then one of the people who was sleeping, their legs stood out and didn't enable him to get out. He would have woken everybody up. So then all of a sudden a bee comes along and starts buzzing around the person's leg, and the person moves his leg, and David's able to go out. And finally, incompetent people, when David was in a foreign land by Moab, trying to hide there, and to realize that this was the man who killed Goliath, and they were going to take him to the king. So right away, David feigned that he was incompetent, he was not normal. And they said, he can't be David HaMelech, he's not acting normal. So all of a sudden, David realized through his life that there are things that serve great purposes over here in life, even though we can't understand how that's happening. So our job not necessarily is to know how everything in this world, but we are told that every single thing is directed towards man's ultimate goal, this great and therefore it's a great responsibility for us. To the degree that I accomplish what Hashem wants me to accomplish in this world, then that part of the world that has been used in part of the entire chain of events in my life now has meaning. That's why, for example, the Gemara says, if a person partakes of something in this world without making the appropriate bracha, it's like he's stealing from Hashem. Because the things that Hashem gives us in this world are meant to develop ourselves spiritually. And if man fails to make a bracha, for example, he misappropriates those things that were entrusted him for that purpose, and therefore he's stealing like God. Maybe to explain this a little better, the Baal HaTanya explains this idea and how this relates to service in the temple. For example, when you, let's say you're taking a piece of meat. Let's say it's supper tonight. And a lot of us, don't want to have so many carbs for whatever reasons. So you have yourself a nice steak or hot dogs or whatever. And you make the bracha shakol niyeh b'dvaro. And you made the bracha with kavod. And your mamish were saying that everything exists by his word. What has happened when you have done this? Number one, you've done a mitzvah. You made a bracha, you invoke God's name. Very nice. You're feeling a little more of a connection to Hashem in a little way for each bracha you make. It's amazing. But what Lutzado is saying over here is not only did you elevate yourself, but you elevated everything. What did you elevate? Well, let's think for a minute. You made a bracha on this piece of steak. Now, this steak came from somewhere. You said shakol niyeh b'dvaro. This steak came from a steer, a cow, bull, whatever. So not only did this one little piece of steak, but the entire cow got elevated. But it's not just the cow that got elevated. That cow was eating grass. Was eating grass and other nutritious food that comes from the ground. So now, not only did you elevate the cow, you elevated the grass that he ate. But that grass doesn't grow by itself. The grass is a product of the nutrients of the ground. It's a product of sunlight. It's a product of rain, wind, all those things that were part that made the grass. You now gave purpose to all of that. And what an intricate process it is for the rains to come. And there's so many scientific factors beyond my understanding that create this whole cycle of rain. And all the science behind that, all the biology behind that, and the chemistry on that level was all instrumental in the rain that made it that the grass should grow for the animal to eat, for it to come on my table. And that's all part of the shakol niyeh b'dvaro. But that's not enough. There's more than that. The cow, how did the cow end up? It didn't go directly from the shochet's butcher to my house. No, it got sent over to to Sobeys or to the butcher. And how did it get there? There was probably a non-Jewish truck driver who took lots of meat and brought it to Sobeys. So this non-Jewish truck driver, what's his purpose in the world? His purpose in the world is to send the kosher meat from the butcher shop, from the slachtois, to send it to Sobeys. And when that non-Jew stops off along the way at a McDonald's and to have some chazer, to have strength to drive his truck, that chazer he eats is part of the world that is getting a tikkun from you making this bracha. But not only that, every part of the truck that was necessary to make the truck and all the workers at the GM plant who made the truck now have a purpose for the truck that took you there. But not only that, but the roads that the truck went on and all the workers who made the roads and materials that were used to make the cement and the asphalt and all these things for the road. All these things, all of a sudden, when you make the bracha, they all have meaning. So many things have been elevated. On the other hand, if you take that piece of meat and you don't make a bracha, all those things have been degraded, not elevated. That's the difference. And that was the idea of korbanos. Korbanos in the Beis HaMikdash, because we know everything in the world is made from 4 different types of elements: inanimate, plant, animal, and human. Those are the 4 primary elements. So whenever there was a korban, you had, every korban would have, by and large, would have an animal. Almost all the korbanos were animals. The animals were brought with different libations, with oil, with wine, with breads. It's all from the plant world. And of course, there was salt, which is the inanimate. Every korban had salt. And finally, the human being, the Kohen, or the Jew himself, was involved with the korban. So that's why you see the Medrash says that by korbanos, the name of Hashem, Yud He Vav He, is used to introduce the mitzvah korbanos, because that name of Hashem reflects the unity of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the world. And the greatest unity is when every part of this world is being used in this way. And it's all based, and the next part of Lutzado explains this. We'll just briefly say this. I'll say it outside in English. He says this is the story with the rocks. When Yaakov went to sleep, he ran away from home to go to Lavan. And by the deduction of the way the verses were written, it says that he put a number of rocks down, but then the next morning this discussed as one rock. So what's going on? So the Medrash says that all the rocks got together and were, so to speak, fighting. And we're saying, I want the tzaddik to put his head on my rock and not on the other rock. So God, in the sense of peace, made them into one rock completely. And that's what he is saying. That's the Medrash Koheles is telling us, that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the first man, he took man around all the trees in the garden. And Hashem said to him, look at my works of creation, how beautiful and how praiseworthy they are. And everything I created was all for you. And then the Medrash ends, Tain daitcha, be cautious. So to kalkel v'tachri v'salami, don't destroy my world. So what do you see? You see that Judaism was the beginning of ecology. The real ecology that we should be worried about is spiritual ecology. Certainly, we shouldn't pollute the world. We shouldn't destroy the world on that level. There's no question about that. But Judaism takes it many, many steps more than that. Even without any physical pollution, we can pollute the spiritual world by taking all the pleasures of this world and not directing them to God in any way, shape, or form. And that is the greatest destruction of mankind and the greatest destruction of the entire world. And this is the free will choice that man has. So this is the greatness of man, that not only can you do, when you do the right thing, you do the mitzvahs, not only do perfect yourself and make yourself an Adam Shalom and make yourself a person who will be Davuk to Hashem in this world, but the entire world is screaming out to be part of this tremendous orchestra of service to Hashem. And they want to be part of the tzaddik's life and to be used in one way, directly or indirectly, And that's how you elevate the world. And when we do those things, then the world functions the way it's meant to function. As the Talmud says, have you ever seen a bird or a beast agonize over parnasa the way a man does? No. They have the food, it comes easily for them. So the Gemara says, so how come human beings have trouble? They say, only because if I've done wrong things, I've sabotaged my livelihood. When we don't use the world the way Hashem wants us to use it, then the world does not want to function for us. Then all of a sudden, things don't produce the way they should. Many of the Kabbalists say that long ago we had the temple, the fruits and the vegetables had many more nutrients than they have today. But all the level of food is way less because of the unfortunate sins that we have done. So therefore, if we love ourselves and we love the world and we love everything and want to have a tikkun olam and really have worry about what is climate change, the worst climate change is to put spiritual destruction in. We will serve Hashem by using the world the way it was meant to be used and to elevate the world with that. Thank you very much. Have a good night, and we'll continue tomorrow.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Night is